Ashe, Ashe, and grand rising once again to you all my very beautiful people. Yes, you my highly enriched melanin people, you the earth's original and organic humans, aka, yes, you my fellow Africans. It is I, the Mystic Philosopher, and yes, it is quite evident that I'm still here with you on this side of reality. Amidst all that is happening, I'm still here with you on this side of reality. And welcome back to the Mystic P is talking again, and aka under 15 minutes with I the Mystic Philosopher. And this is episode 55. Now, the main topic of this series of talks, as you know, is stress on the mind. The stress on the mind, or more correctly, the impact that this thing called stress has or is having on the thing that we humans call mind, or at least mind in the English language, okay? Now, and that from I the Mystic Philosopher's perspective, the solution to this disease, to this problem called stress can or it may be found in and by understanding, understanding, and overstanding the want equation, which namely, and I stated, want is equal to money, which is equal to stress, which is equal to unhappiness, and also by putting into practice the knowledge that can be gained from this profound equation. And the quote that I am using and have been using to make and to illustrate my points is from the Adamic Race History book in accordance to the 23rd Psalm verse 1. It states that the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. And I'm milking it, I'm exhausting it so that you can get the message. Now, in my last episode, which is episode 54, I asked that you please meditate on the want equation. Want is equal to stress. Want is equal to money, which is equal to stress, which is equal to unhappiness. I ask that you meditate on it and see what you can or what you may learn and derive from it for yourself. Just think about it for yourself. I'm just giving you pointers and explaining certain things, but you can get much more if you do it by yourself. In other words, evaluate it for yourself and see if it makes any sense to you personally. If not, dismiss it. Find what you're doing. You're satisfied with what you're getting, keep doing what you're doing. I also promise that I will continue to evaluate and share with you some more of my perspectives and insight on the thing called want and the want equation by addressing and answering the question, how do we get rid of want? And isn't that impossible? Now, please let me answer the last part of the question first. Isn't that impossible? Meaning, isn't that impossible to try and get, or isn't it impossible for us to try and get rid of want? And my answer is no. It is not impossible to try. And yes, it is impossible to get rid of want. For if or when all things are carefully considered, now this is for thinking people, if or when all things are considered, or more correctly, if or when most things are very carefully considered, the evidence will show that it is impossible to get rid of want. And the thing called want, or to get rid of anything for that matter, it is impossible. For as long as it exists, or as long as there is consciousness and awareness that it exists, or it existed, it will continue to exist. But again, that is for the thinkers. That is a separate subject and topic that some of you might be, to some of you it might be too far beyond the scope of this talk. So, for your information, the phrase "get rid of it" must and should be logically and reasonably interpreted as to remove it, to relocate it, to reposition it, to set it aside, to ignore it, etc., etc. Now, the first part of the question, let's address the first part of the question now. How do we get rid of want? This must be and should be logically and reasonably interpreted as how do we remove it? How do we relocate it? How do we reposition it? How do we set it aside and how do we ignore it, etc.? That's how it has to be interpreted, right? Now, so now that you know that want is the cause, by now you should know all of this, that want is the cause of all our unhappiness or all your unhappiness, then in order for us to full joy, in order for us to be full of joy, aka in order for us to be joyful, in order for us to be filled with joy, meaning in order for us, melanin people, talking about us now, to live and experience our purpose, but some of you don't even know, our natural native earthly human birthright, which is a life that is filled with pleasure. That's our purpose. A life that is filled with pleasure as opposed to a life filled with pain and suffering. Right? We must get rid of want. In order for us to live our purpose, we must get rid of want. We must get rid of the seed called want. We must get rid of the word want and all of its synonyms and euphemisms from our minds, from our vocabulary, and from our lives. Just remember, the command and the commandment, aka the order commandment, the order of our mind, you shall not want. I shall not want, we shall not want, and nor should we be found wanting. You must, and we must stop wanting. Anytime that you find yourself unhappy, my people, just do a self-inquiry and ask yourself, what do I want? And simply stop wanting it. Wanting and unhappiness cannot occupy the same space at the same time. Remember also that in my last episode, episode 54, I told you that words are things, but that they are not the actual things that they represent. Well, if you are, if we know, understand, understand, and overstand that statement to be true, and the profound truth that it enveloped, that it encapsulates, that is within it, then we will know, understand, and understand that in order for us to full joy, aka to be joyful, we must get rid of every word that represent the thing called want. We must know, understand, and understand that to use any of these words is to invoke the thing called want. It is to sow the seed called want. And we must know that because there are more than one word in the English language that represents this thing called want, that we must know that that is the reason why they are called synonyms and euphemisms. We must know, understand, and understand that whenever we use any of these words, we are activating the thing that is commonly called want. And what are some of the words that are synonymous with want? They are words like desire, lack, wish, etc., etc. And no doubt those of you that have been listening to me talk about this subject of words and language before will remember that I told you, and on several occasions I have reminded you that this is not our language and this is not our natural native earthly human tongue. I told you that it is a trichology language, and I borrowed that word from this famous guy named Muta Baruka, right? He's the first one I heard use the word trichology, even before I get into these things. Trichology. It's a trichology language. It is a trichology language, meaning it is a language of trickery. It is a language of black magic and sorcery, etc., etc. It is a language of mind control. It is the English language, meaning that it was and that it is designed to deceive, to confuse, to divide, to conquer, and to control our minds, and especially to control the minds of those of us, conquer and control the minds of us that are completely ignorant of these facts, and ignorant to these facts. And what they are about. When we're in ignorance, it make it worse. So I'm just here trying to awake sleepy souls, awake to some of these things. Just think. You will remember that I told you that unlike us, the real elites, the real masterminds, aka the 1%ers, some of them they are called the oligarchs, the ruling class, the politicians, etc. They send their children to special schools called grammar schools. And the purpose for which is to ensure that they learn grammar, meaning to ensure that they learn magic in order to continue ruling, continue their ancestors' work, continue ruling, governing, and controlling us, their subjects, their sheep, their livestock. They call us their subjects, their sheep, their sheep, their livestock, their herd, their cattle, their victims, and their slaves. You will remember that in order to prove my point on this subject that I explained to you and in great details, the etymology, the meaning, and definition of the words of words in the English language, such as grammar, grammary, grammaton, etc. You might remember me telling you that grammar, by meaning and definition, means the study, the learning, the erudition, the magic, the erudition of magic and enchantment. That's what grammar is about. You might remember me telling you that the current English word grammar is derived from the root. It is derived from and rooted in an old English word, grammari, rather an old French word, grammari and grammari. And that grammari, by meaning, by extension, grammar, is a book of conjuring or a book of magic. You may also remember me telling you that the word grammaton is associated with the 4 Hebrew characters that are considered sacred and magical and are used in some magical circles to perform magic, to conjure up spirits, aka also known as the Tetragrammaton, or the holy name of the God of Israel. And if you are still in doubt that what I am telling you is true, then please simply look up the word grammar in an etymology dictionary, or even right here online on the etymology dictionary online. It's right there. They don't hide it from you. As the saying goes, you can't see the forest because the trees are in the way. It's right here and there. And while at it, simply look up the meaning and origin of grammar schools and see for yourself who gets to go there or to go to them. I've never been to no grammar school. With that said, please let me get back to talking about want and thou shalt not want. Wow, running. Again, please let me remind you, my melanin people, that if or when you find yourselves experiencing stress, which by now you know from your own practical experiences means experiencing unhappiness, and that you are unhappy, just simply ask yourself the question, what do I want? Or what am I wanting? And be very true and honest to yourself and with the answer. And then just simply stop wanting it. Just don't want it anymore. Just don't want it or whatever anymore. And I can almost guarantee you and assure you that the moment you do that, the moment you stop wanting it or wanting them, you name it, and mean it or mean them or mean that, you will start feeling better, and eventually your happiness will be restored. These facts and practical insights that I am giving you and that I am telling you, your system-trained psychiatrists, doctors, social workers, pastors, and preachers, or so-called mental health professionals, etc., don't know. They were never taught these things, and nor can they tell you these things. And those that may know, some after hearing me speak will not tell you or encourage you to look into these things, let alone to practice them, because they realize that it will put them out of business. For when you are stressed out, meaning when you are unhappy and you go see or listen to them, it means and it equals money to and for them. However, what they will do is use it and practice it for themselves. For the evidence also shows that nobody is as stressed out and is as unhappy as some of, if not all of these, the aforementioned people, aka the aforementioned professionals. And just so the thing said, some of them commit the most suicide. Yes, I'm telling you, I even know of one who commits suicide because they're stressed out. There's so many of them. These people more stressed out and unhappy than me here. Anyway, time is going. Again, thus far for today's episode, I honestly think that I have given you, or at the very least, I honestly think that I may have given some of you, if not all of you, a lot more to think about. and possible a lot more to look forward to in my next episode, especially as it relates to stress, the seed called want, and the want equation, etc. And so in the interest of time, I think I should just pause here. I have to stop here for today and ask that you please join me if I when next I'm talking again, possibly in episode 56, where and when I will be talking and sharing with you more of my perspectives and insights. And this time, continue on this magical, mystical, and metaphysical aspect of the word want and the command and commandment, you shall not want. And hopefully continue addressing, answering, and answering the question and giving more examples as to how do I get rid of, or how do you get rid of want and by extension, stress. Yes. For I shall not want, you shall not want, we shall not want, and nor should we be found wanting. Time ago. In the meantime and between time, please let me again remind you, my people, that yesterday's history too is dead and gone. No more to come back, but tomorrow is a mystery. It too may never come, but today is a gift, which is why we call it the present day. And so I hereby implore you, I'm imploring you to live for today, and by live I mean claim your natural birthright. And just in case again you forget and you don't know what that it is your happiness and full joy today. And let's hope for tomorrow may never come for you nor for me, but for I. Right? So thanks again for your time and for listening. I am the Mystic Philosopher. Ashe. I say. I know I went over, but I guess you will understand. Have yourself a wonderful day.